Hi, and welcome back to Raising Socially Conscious Children with Christine and Jillian. I'm so excited to come back and talk to you, Jillian, again in the month of June, Pride Month. And we thought today we'd talk a little bit about what Pride Month means when you're raising a child in that early childhood stage as an ally. So, Joe, do you have any thoughts of how to start this off, this conversation with children?
Yeah, so I have a little story. My 6-year-old asked me, I don't remember why we were talking about Pride, but we were, and he asked why Pride was in June. And I was like, oh, well, that's because of the Stonewall Riots. And it felt like a really good opportunity to bring to him not just a message of love and support and pride, which we had talked about, years before. We'd gone to Pride parades and celebrated, but to be able to bring a little bit of the social justice lens to that, like the activism lens. And I told him that the Stonewall Riot was a time, and this was tricky because I was introducing a lot of new concepts like bars to my 6-year-old. So I was like, a long time ago, like 50 years ago, I'd say everything 50 years ago, that is about the right timeline. Gay people were very oppressed. A lot of the ways that we talk about, like, Black people have been oppressed in our country, like gay people have been very oppressed. And lots of people think that they shouldn't be gay or shouldn't, marry people of the same gender, or they shouldn't act the way they want to act. And, we don't think that that's right. We don't believe in that. But 50 years ago, there was a lot of that. And it was even like illegal to be who you are if you were gay, to dress the way you wanted to dress, or to love who you wanted to love, or be with who you wanted to be with. And so a lot of people felt uncomfortable being out in a crowd in public. So they would go to bars, which is a place where they would go to have beer or wine or other drinks. And they'd get to be with other people who they felt comfortable and safe with. But the police didn't like that they did that. So they would come and take people out of the bars and arrest them. And just every once in a while, they would come in and just make them feel scared and upset. And one time in June, the people fought back. The people told the police, no, we will not let you stop us from being who we are. We're not going to let you do that to us. And of course, because he's 6, he wanted to know exactly what they did to stop the police. But what did they do it with? It was like there was a brick involved, maybe some beer bottles. So it was a story that he could connect with, of standing up for yourself, of making sure that you are not treated badly by somebody, even somebody in power. Because we've talked about that before. That goes in line with our talk about marches for racial justice. So it was a narrative that was familiar, and we inserted new information into it that gay people have been oppressed in our country, and still are oppressed, but it used to be worse. And this was the beginning of a fight against it, a public fight to say we deserve equal rights too. And I explained that then, Pride used to be shorter. It was just a one-day event or a week. And now we have a whole month where we get to stop and think about how important people who are gay are in our society and our culture, and how much we care for them, and how much we owe them in making sure that we use our voices to speak up for their rights. So it felt like a really great conversation to take the next steps from it doesn't matter who you love, you can love anybody who you want, to fighting for what's right.
Absolutely. It's so interesting because he opened the door for you. Where
I would not have taught him about the riot other than he asked a really concrete question, but it seemed important for him to know the history.
Right. And that's one of the important pieces to kind of be aware of as a parent, is that door opening, sometimes from the child and sometimes from us. So there's a little bit weighted on both ends. So as your child is younger, 2, 3 years old, we're having discussions about, love is love. We love everyone. People can be loved no matter what they wear, what they look like, what they sound like, what their family looks like, what their family sounds like. It starts to expand a little bit as the child's brain expands. And then, as with your child who's 6, who now says concretely, why is this in June? And it really connects to now we have the value of always standing up for people and accepting people, but becoming that like ally who knows that there is a fight that had to happen and that still has to continually happen. But at his level, that you could end it there and allow him to have that time to sink in and revisit it when he's ready, or maybe revisit it if something else kind of triggers it for you.
Right. Right. And during this conversation, I'm remembering I said something about lesbians and he was like, what is a lesbian? And I was like, oh, that's strange that I haven't taught you that language yet. But I would, explain like, well, I said, you know what gay is, right? And he was like, yes. Like, duh, mom. And I was like, okay, so a lesbian is a woman who is a gay person. Mm-hmm. Like a woman who loves or is interested in or has romantic feelings for other women. It's like, all right, like file that away in his memory box of all of the terms that he's learning about people out in the world. But it also feels really important to me to have these conversations in a way like I'm coming at this conversation as an ally, but I don't know if he is or not, right? Like, I don't know if he is going to be gay, if he'll be a gay person when he, gets older, or if he is a gay person now. Like, he doesn't have romantic feelings towards anybody yet, but that could come up any day. And so it's really important that the messages that he hears from me of allyship are not just for performance, that it's genuine understanding of all different kinds of people come in all different types of ways. And whatever way you're coming is a normal, fine way to be. It's not an other that you would have to feel uncomfortable sharing with me at any time. So when I use language, I try not to use like us and them language, because the them might be us.
Absolutely. And that safe environment that, you even explained what was happening for those who were at Stonewall, that safe place they felt they could be in and be themselves is what my ultimate goal is in my household for my children. If they are gay, if they're not, if their friends are or not, if our friends are or not, if our neighbor is or not. So that ultimately kind of creates the environment of acceptance and understanding. Even if we don't know everything, we look to know a little bit more, or help a little bit more, or ask or change. I've had to do that in my life as well. And it's interesting that he felt he knew what gay was. What do you see that? Was that because early on you may have talked about that, or it's been introduced in that sense, so part of his day-to-day?
Yeah, I mean, we know a lot of gay people. So the concept has always been a part of his life, but being able to have language to go with it has had to be built in. So when we read books, we made sure that he had books in his home library that included different types of family, including same-sex parents. And we would say like, oh, this family, like this mom is gay, to sort of build in the language. And later I asked some friends, I was like, I don't think I'm explaining it well, because I keep focusing on the idea of being married and having kids, like of families having same-sex parents, and realizing that that's only one slice of what life is like. And there's this whole range of people's life experiences that don't revolve around marriage and children. So
right.
Started adding in more language to normalize feelings of attachment of romantic attachment for anybody, so that he understood those feelings in that language when they come up, no matter for whom they come up, that he understands like romantic interest, romantic attachment, wanting to feel close to somebody more than just like a friend, like wanting to kiss or hug, and making sure that he knew the difference between that in like a family way, that in a friendly way, or that in a romantic way. So then we've been able to build on those types of words within the context of what your sexuality might be. To be fair, I don't use the word sexuality with him yet, because that's like, for him, sex is still something that is very much just about like making babies, because that's the context in which he's been taught that. But like romantic attachment and sex don't have to go together. So you can really developmentally appropriate talk about romantic attachment to explain what it means to be gay.
Yes.
You know, it's not something that isn't talked about anyway. Yeah. With children. Like, how many people have you seen like walk up to a child and say like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? Or, oh, they see like a little boy and a little girl playing together, like, oh, like they're going to get married. Mm-hmm. Like, people are saying those things anyway. Let's teach them some of the feelings and thoughts and language that goes around what those relationships are like.
Absolutely. And it's scary as a parent, possibly, who is feels as though they're an ally, that there is going to need to be this discussion about sex at this point. And in early childhood, that's not where their mind is. It's about, so they're trying to filter, and we've talked about this before. So whether it's about how someone looks or how someone sounds, they're trying to filter out who's in this world and how do I react to that. And the beautiful thing is that children are ready to understand and accept and love pretty unconditionally, as long as their environment is teaching them to do so. And that doesn't mean you have to get into sex conversations. It's about love. It's about people having the absolute right to exist as they are, and love who they love, and that's where it can kind of be ended in your discussion until your child, similar to how yours did, starts to open more doors. Their brain will start to let you know. If you're a safe person, their brain will start to let you know as they're ready each step of the way with these types of conversations.
Absolutely. So next time we chat, we'll start to open some of those doors so that parents who are already there will gain some new ideas and language around how to talk to their kids around gender identity and gender identity development in young children and beyond.
And beyond. We're all in it together. Well, thanks for being with us as we try to raise these allies who are socially conscious kids. See you next time.